Chapter 58. Only the ball was white. Some people say that Josh Gibson once hit a ball over the roof at Yankee Stadium, which is further than the Babe ever did. As for the unbelievable Satchel Paige, his pitching was so accurate they could have stayed in the strike zone pitching to Tom Thumb. Excuse me. Did he have a fastball? Why, Satchel practically invented the fastball. Someone who batted against him said that you never saw his pitched balls, just heard the thump in the catcher's mitt, and they knew they'd gone by. And cool Papa Bell? Well, Page himself swore that Bell ran so fast he could turn off the light switch and make it to bed before the light went out. That lights out story got repeated as a tall tale and a joke, although it happened to be true. Bell explained that he bet Page he could do it one night when he learned that his light switch was faulty. He won the bet. But usually he didn't need trickery. Cool Papa Bell was fast as Mercury, maybe faster, and Page and everyone else knew it. Page and Bell and Gibson were the stars of the Negro Leagues. These were Jim Crow times, when in much of the United States schools and ball teams and other things for blacks and whites were separate and unequal. Baseball didn't start that way. The brothers Fleet and Welde Walker had played in the old American Association. But when the association died in 1892, Cap Anson, who was a big hitter and a big bigot, made sure that the new leagues fielded white-only teams. So men of color formed their own leagues. The Negro Leagues were filled with talented players who played hard and seemed to have a whole lot of fun, too. Not that it was an easy life. Money was usually short, the equipment shabby, the travel brutal, and in segregated times, blacks almost always had trouble finding hotel rooms or restaurants to eat in. Sometimes they played 200 or 300 games in a 6-month season. Figure the math on that one. Since they had no ballparks of their own, they had to rent, and the managers wanted to get their money's worth, so when lights got put in ball fields, they'd often play a doubleheader and then a night game too. What they did best beside their regular league games, was barnstorm around the country bringing entertainment and fancy ball playing to blacks and some whites in a whole lot of American towns. They were to baseball what the Harlem Globetrotters later became to basketball, wizards. Sometimes they played in formal attire, sometimes in clown costumes, sometimes in uniforms. They did comic routines, they juggled, they did ball tricks. It was fun, and it was skilled ball too. You had to love baseball to keep up the pace. Josh Gibson and Ted Page remembered playing a twilight game in Pittsburgh, driving to St. Louis for a day game, and then on to scorching Kansas City for a doubleheader. That evening, the two of them made it to a hotel porch where they sat dog-tired until they heard some kids playing sandlot ball. Naturally, they couldn't resist that, so they joined the game. Two Cuban teams, the Cuban Stars and the New York Cubans, added a cosmopolitan touch to the Negro Leagues. Martin Digo, who played with the Cubans and with the Veracruz Mexico Eagles, ended up in baseball's Hall of Fame in Cuba, Mexico, and the United States. In a league where everyone seemed versatile, he still managed to be outstanding. As one player said, "I've seen them all for the past 50 years, and I think Digo was in a class by himself. He'd pitch one day, play center field the next, and the next day he'd be at first base. Sometimes he played 2 or 3 positions in a single game." Except for the traveling, most of the ball players had a good time. Although a few hated having to clown around, they just wanted to play ball. But being black or dark-skinned Cuban or Mexican, they couldn't join the major leagues. It was crazy. One excuse was that blacks and whites couldn't play together, but that wasn't so. White all-star teams often barnstormed with the blacks playing exhibition games. Black teams won more than they lost. Everyone knows that players like Oscar Charleston, Smokey Joe Williams, and Buck Leonard were major talents. I have played against a Negro all-star team That was so good, we didn't even think we had a chance, admitted White Dizzy Dean, who pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. There's no room in baseball for discrimination, said Lou Gehrig, one of the best first basemen ever. White catcher Gabby Hartnett, whose three sisters barnstorm in a women's league, said, if managers were given permission, there'd be a mad rush to sign up Negroes, which is what finally happened. Striking out the Babe. It was 1931 and the Yankees were playing an exhibition game against the Chattanooga, Tennessee Lookouts. The Lookouts had just signed a new pitcher, 17-year-old Jackie Mitchell. The great Babe came to the plate and struck out. The Babe threw his bat, stalked off, and the crowd roared. The next batter was big hitter Lou Gehrig. Jackie threw 3 times, Gehrig swung 3 times, and that was that. Surprise! Jackie Mitchell was a she. Some said that Ruth and Gehrig were just being polite to a woman, but no one who was there believed it. Baseball's commissioner didn't care. He was a misogynist, someone who dislikes women. He said Mitchell's contract was void and baseball lost out. You can pause here and read the world beater part in the green box.